Hey guys, Huck Sportscards here. Hope everybody's having a blessed day. Well guys, before I get into should the 80s cards be considered vintage, I want to wish my wife a happy birthday. So happy birthday, Kathy. I know you're not supposed to say how old women are, but she is a half a century old today. So I wanted to wish her a happy birthday. Gonna take her out to eat. Picked her up a few gifts here. As you can see, I picked her up some more Dick Poe cards. So that's her favorite player from the 70s. So, and matter of fact, after we go out to lunch today, we're going to stop by the card store and see if we can't find a graded Dick Poe card. So, but guys, if you've never seen the video of her collection that I found that she was hiding from me of her Dick Poe cards, I'm going to put that video in the description. You got to check it out. It's a good video. But guys, today on this episode, I want to just do a recap and a follow-up on should the 80s cards be considered vintage. People had a lot of good comments. I mean, really, really good comments. And so I want to do a follow-up on that today. So let's go ahead and take a look at some. All right, guys, well, I want to get into some of these comments here. This first one right here is from Rick Acosta. And it is, his YouTube channel is Dodger Card Collector. And his comment was, I consider 1980 the end of vintage. Maybe they could call 81 and later modern vintage. You know, I never even really thought of that. That's a great term, Because as most of y'all know, and I've made a comment on my last episode, that from 1979 and older, that's what I consider vintage. And, you know, the 80s, I guess, you know, you could call them modern vintage and everything. So, I mean, that's a good term, and that's a really good term from Rick, and it just kind of set off a light bulb when I read that. So, you know, I might start calling the 80s modern vintage maybe. So, but here's another comment from Jimmy. And Jimmy said, I'd say up to 1983, that's 40 years. Next year will be 1984, etc. A 40-year trailing gap is fair enough, I would think. And you know, I kind of agree with that. I mean, that is kind of fair at 40 years. Some people had made comments that I guess 30 years is considered antique. I mean, there was a few people that one of them I talked to at work, and I think another one commented on here and said that 30 years was considered an antique. So maybe cards should be after 30 years. So I wouldn't agree with that. You know, I mean, maybe 40 years you could say, okay, that would be considered vintage. But so I just thought that was a good comment also. And so this next comment here is from Picker Jim. And if you've never seen Picker Jim's YouTube channel, you got to check it out. It's one of the best ones. He's very knowledgeable. But this is what Picker Jim said. It's a good conversation, but vintage is pre-1980 as far as I'm concerned. There's an interesting thread on Net 54 about print runs. According to them, print runs from 1981 through 1986 were roughly the same, give or take, at around 1 million sets. It jumped to 2.5 million sets in 1987 and 3.5 million sets in 1988. It is estimated that in 1979 there was less than 750,000 sets, possibly as low as 250,000. Of course, these are all estimates because Topps has never released official print run numbers for base sets. Man, these were great comments right here from Picker Jim. I mean, he always has great stuff on his channel, like I said. You know, and I would believe this. I would probably say, though, that 1986, it feels like that they had a print run probably more than 1 million, because I felt like 1985, you know, was probably the last year that they didn't like overproduce. I felt like 86 was like really, really overproduced, but I mean, I might be wrong, but it just seemed like they were everywhere, you know, in the 80s. And that's why in my mind, even though I say 1979 and older are considered vintage to me, I do collect, you know, cards from the 80s, and I feel like, you know, 1985 back to 1980, so 1980 to 85, you know, I collect them, and I don't feel like that they're considered the junk wax era, but I do consider like from 1986 on up a ways, you know, the junk wax era. So yeah, but that was just great comments from Jim. Definitely great comments. All right, and this last comment here is from Tops 85401. So, and he said, to me, vintage is anything 1973 and older. I can't imagine I'll ever consider the 80s vintage. And you know, I understand that sentiment, honestly. I know a lot of people that agree with him on that, because, you know, in 1973, that was the last year that they released Topps baseball cards in series. You know, in 74, you could get a complete set. You know, that's when they released them all at one time. So, so that was a great comment. All right, guys. Well, like I said, I just wanted to show you some of those comments and just kind of wanted to wrap this up. So that question I asked, should the 80s cards be considered vintage? And I guess I've kind of changed my thinking just a little bit. So I still, without a doubt, 1979 and older to me is definitely vintage. But like I said, Rick's comment of calling them modern vintage, I think I would say I could use that term for the 1980 through 1985 cards. So I'll probably start doing that maybe and just calling them modern vintage. But it's just hard for me, you know, to use that term for 1986 and newer cards, because I guess just because of the print runs. You know, like I said, Picker Jim made that comment, or, you know, wrote those comments saying that I guess they had 1 million of them in up to 1986. And like I said in there, it's just hard for me to believe that 1986 didn't have more than that. Now I know definitely 87, they were all over the place. So I guess you can imagine they have, what is it, 2.5 million Barry Bonds rookie cards out there. That's why that card's not worth anything. And really, I don't think anything in the 1986 set is worth anything either. So, but yeah, I'd be willing to call 1980 through 1985 modern vintage, and then 79 on back is considered vintage to me. But guys, I really appreciate all the comments, and once again, feel free to comment on this one and let me know some more of your insights. I appreciate this YouTube community. Definitely like all the comments, and I enjoy watching all you guys' channels as well. So just keep up the good work. But guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I ask that you do so. And guys, until next time, we'll see you later.